Alrighty, so since this is a very short presentation, I'll just get started. My name is Milagro. I'm from California Mesa in San Diego. Um, this is just one of the extra resources outside of NEDC that we wanted to share with you today. So our center, when we do kind of like our initial teacher trainings, we usually provide some extra student orientation. This is just as like a supplement in case US teachers already have something going on. This is just meant to add to it. And this will be available at the end of this meeting, and then this whole thing will be recorded. But for our center, we kind of focus on three areas. So we have metrology, just like learning how to read an inch and a centimeter, which seems easy enough, but the inch is actually kind of confusing. My advisor when I was in middle school, his whole thing was just like, unless you can pass my inch labeling test completely 100%, I will not give you any tools or materials to work with anything else, which was super awesome. Next, we have small hand tools. These are pretty much just like basic tools, which seem like common sense to use, but you will be surprised how often we get people hurting themselves with them. So this is just kind of like a quick rundown as to like where to touch, don't touch. And then just lastly, general safety. And then this can also be changed depending on what kind of room you're in. So if you are based in a lab, maybe you have additional stuff for like if you're working with chemicals, or if you need to use like the showers or whatever, there's the eye wash. Or if you're working in a shop, like my base instructor, he was based in like a wood shop. Obviously there was like a lot of more hearing protection, goggles, closed-toed shoes, all that fun stuff. But yeah, it just kind of goes into all of that fun stuff. So metrology number one goes into imperial versus metric. Basically just the main difference between the systems, and which one is used in which country. For the most part, imperial system is only used in like 2 or 3 countries. Everywhere else is metric system, including a lot of our rules. Everything is kind of based in like centimeters, grams. So it's good to know how to convert between those things. Reading a centimeter, super straightforward. You just count the lines and then that's it. But just in case, as a kind of way to show them that like everything is base 10, that's it. For reading an inch, that one's a little bit more intensive. So you get your whole inch, half-inch line, your quarter-inch lines, 8-inch lines, and then your 16th inch lines. By the end of it, they should be able to label everything, from like the big actual number lines. And so instead of them telling you like, oh, it's like the 5th one above the one, they'll be able to say that it's 5/16 of an inch, which would make it also make communicating lengths and stuff a lot easier. In this presentation, there's also just some notes to remember how to read an inch, and then also some activities. All of these are standard sizes. They're just stuff that can be found in office: paper clips, an unfolded paper clip, standard index cards, usually like a 3x5, and then printed paper. They already have like listed dimensions, so they're easier to check. But you can always take these and just add extra stuff for them to measure. You can make a quiz with like different lines drawn on them, and you know how long those lines are. And they just have to practice measuring, just making sure that they can line everything up and they can tell you the fraction of whatever it is that they're measuring. Answers for that. Now, small tools, again, these are common hand tools, but it kind of goes into the hold here, don't hold here, which again, for some of these are common sense, but we still get kids sometimes like hurting themselves. So like, for example, the hot glue gun, the most common issue we see is that like kids will touch the glue thinking that it won't be hot. The glue is hot, everything is hot. So just to remind them, like, just don't touch that front nozzle area and just hold it from the little, from the trigger area. Again, blades, box cutters, X-Acto knives, stuff that they'll probably use for like cutting cardboard, just making sure that they have like clean areas, safety, avoid your fingers, add a mat, and then just how to like store them. Screwdrivers, these are slightly less common, but it's good to know the difference between like the little cross tip and then the flathead. But yeah, hammers, again, likely not going to use them as often, but again, good to know, like, hold it from the bottom, don't hold it from like the neck of it. And then just generally like where to avoid hitting. And then soldering iron, these are going to be for those who work with a lot of like circuitry. just making sure that they don't hold it from the middle tip at all. Because if they look up stock photos of soldering, you'll find people holding it like a pencil from the very base of it. Do not touch that part. That will give you a 4th degree burn. So just like reminders and stuff like that, and what these things are and what you would use them for. And then lastly is just safety. We do include a note that essentially where you are, whoever is running the room, those rules are going to take over, but this is just like additional safety gear that might be required, and it goes over what they are and when to wear them. Generally, tie back long hair, remove dangly jewelry, and make sure your workspace is clean. That's just general safety. That's going to apply everywhere. But in addition, stuff to cover eyes, ears, lungs, what is that one? Hands and head. But yeah, goggles, eye protection, easy peasy. The difference between like that one on top is for people who don't wear glasses. That one on bottom is the one for people who do. So I normally have to wear the ones on the bottom. I look fantastic when I do. Hearing protection, that's mostly going to be if you're in a wood shop or if you're just like in a loud area. We also do have students that go into like manufacturing spaces, so they do have to wear that like type of headgear whenever they go in there. Closed-toed shoes, just reminders, especially if they're going to be working with a lot of like tools like hammers and blades and stuff. If they drop something accidentally, we don't want them getting hurt. And we do want them to be able to balance in case they have to like move very quickly out of the way. Face mask, that's generally just kind of like if they're working with any kind of like wood or anything that produces a particle, it's better to wear a mask just to protect your lungs. And then also if you're feeling sick, just throw one on, because we don't want to get anybody else sick. Gloves, that's going to be if you're working more with blades. If a student is kind of unsure about whether or not they can control the blade, or they're a little afraid, the gloves can add a little bit of extra protection. But also the reminder that it's not going to keep them from getting cut, but it will keep them from getting as much damage from some kind of injury. So they still have to be careful if they have these things on. Hard hat, again, we do have students that do manufacturing tours, and so we just kind of throw that on there so that they know and are aware of what that is. And I do believe that's the last one. Yes, it is. Okay, so we got about 3 minutes left in case anyone has questions. Otherwise, this will be made available by the end of it, as well as this recording. And it is there for you to use and adapt to whatever you would like it to be presented to teachers like right at the beginning of the year, or even for teachers to present to your students as kind of a first thing review before everyone gets started building things.